The not-for-profit startups require very unique CRM systems. So, which are the top 10 not-for-profit CRM systems in 2024? That's what we are going to discuss in this video. So, let's dive in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent CRM, ERP, and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, CRM selection, implementation, change management. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is top 10 not-for-profit startup CRMs in 2024. So how do we define not-for-profit startups? In general, these are going to be the not-for-profit organizations that are going to have extremely limited budget. For the most part, they are probably going to have under 20 employees. They are going to implement the system primarily in the DIY mode just because their budget is not going to be as much. For this list, we consider not-for-profit startups across all of the micro verticals inside not-for-profit. That is going to be your education, healthcare, any of the associations, charities, religious orgs, anything and everything that goes under the not-for-profit industry definition. We have considered those as part of this list. For the most part, they are going to have a lot of different tools. They are going to be siloed. They are not going to be as integrated from the customer touchpoint perspective. And these companies are implementing this more in the DIY mode. Just to be clear, this is only the customer touchpoints as well as the omni-channel connectivity and traceability. This is not necessarily the ERP centric or the operational or financial centric workflows. So in this particular case, these companies are going to have very disconnected data sets in general. The criteria that we utilize for this list is product share, the acquisition strategy focused on the not-for-profit startup segment. If they are acquiring a lot of capabilities, developing capabilities for the not-for-profit startup segment, generally those solutions are going to rank higher on this particular list. Then we have product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, technology, strategy, investors. So these are some of the factors that we have considered to compile this list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Give Butter. And this is a prescriptive system that we generally talk about. And when I say prescriptive, meaning they are going to have very tailored functionality for not-for-profit segment. Generally, these systems are not going to be as customizable. They are designed for a very specific state, very specific business model. So in general, with these systems, the challenge that you are going to run into is if you have a very diverse business model, or if you have to customize, then these systems might not be a great fit and you might outgrow them quickly if your business model is going to evolve. But because of that design, these systems are going to be far easier to implement. They might be far easier to use as well, just because you are going to get very tailored experience. The way you would like to see your business objects workflows, they are going to have those in that state. The majority of the systems that we have compiled on this list are going to be prescriptive in nature, and in not-for-profit segment, you are going to see a lot more. Also, these systems typically emphasize on the marketing automation aspect of the features. So you are going to see the large majority of them are probably going to capture a lot of that functionality. they are not going to be as deep transactionally, because in general the smaller not-for-profit or the startups, they are not going to be cheaper with the slightly mature feature. For example, fund reporting, grant reporting, all of these capabilities might not be as relevant for the smaller not-for-profit. They might be dealing with a lot of individual donors. They might not be dealing with as many major donors, and even if they are, they might deal with major donors. They might not have as robust a reporting requirement, just because the amount that they might be donating might not be as much. But once they grow, then they are going to grow in those needs as well, and that's where they need to consider some other CRM systems that we have on this list. So Give Butter is going to be a very prescriptive system. It's designed for very smaller not-for-profit that can implement this in more in the DIY mode. So some of the other strengths that we are going to have for Give Butter is they have the free version, and if you want to start on that, and most of the time when you are going to have a free version, they are going to have some sort of business model where they are obviously making money, but they are making it easier for the not-for-profit to be able to start on these CRM systems. And finally, they might be able to make money per transaction, or sometimes they might take a cut on each of the donation, and which could be slightly harder to estimate in terms of how much you might be paying in terms of the fee. But at least you are going to have the free version. You don't have to worry about the licensing fee from day one. So the other strengths that you're going to have with the majority of the prescriptive systems, and Give Butter is not necessarily an exception. So the customer service is going to be one of the best for these systems. So obviously with Give Butter as well, you can expect the customer service to be really good. And then they also have some of the features, for example, online auction management, as well as the tickets management, that is going to be part of your event management functionality. In general, the large majority of the not-for-profit are going to require some sort of event management functionality, and they might not have the operational functionality in terms of booking these events, coordinating with vendors, etc. That would fall under slightly more ERP-centric functionality, but they are at least going to provide you the ticket management, the RSVP, as well as the whole landing page for the event, etc. All of those capabilities are going to be part of this, and Give Butter has compelling features for that piece of capability. Now, some of the limitations to keep in mind are going to be the percentage fee, which has been the common trend. They all are trying to follow Shopify business model, where they are either charging a percentage fee on donation, or they are introducing the payment where they may cut. So that's where you need to pay attention. How much leverage do you have on that end? How much money that you might be paying, how much fee you might be paying, even though you are going to be on the free version. And the scalability and customizability is also going to be a factor in this particular case, just because it's a very prescriptive, tailored business model. It's not as moldable as the other systems that you are going to have on this list, and not easy to personalize as well. In general, with these systems, the security workflow is not going to be as robust. For the most part, they are designed for one person or a couple of people. So in general, the security workflow is very simplified. You might not have as many options to be able to enable, disable for different teams, different roles, etc. But as a startup, you probably don't need that. In general, you are probably going to have just one person or a couple of people who are going to be using this system. So that's number 10. Number 9 on our list is Engage Pay. And Engage Pay is again very similar system as your Give Butter, but in this particular case, they are going to have slightly heavier marketing automation capabilities. So the other strengths that we have from the Engage Pay perspective is, just like any other prescriptive CRM systems, this is going to be very easy to implement, adopt, support is going to be really good, and the landing pages and forms, they are going to be easier to build, and that is with the majority of the systems that are going to be geared towards marketing automation. In general, these systems are going to have a lot more tags and filters that you might be able to utilize for your campaigns, but they might not have as heavy data model to be able to support your transactional workflows. But at this stage, you probably don't need that. And the best thing that you might be able to do, since you are going to be on the DIY mode, as well as you are going to be slightly constrained on your implementation budget, is to reduce the scope and just make it simple so that you can manage on these platforms. The other limitations that we are looking at from the Engage Bay perspective is this is slightly more legacy platform, so you might expect a little clunky experience overall from the UI perspective compared to the other solutions that we have on this list. The documentation is probably going to be on a leaner side. That's what the users have reported. So that is also something to keep in mind. In general, if you are going to hire any sort of developers, or if you are trying to do any sort of configuration customization by yourself, then the documentation might not be as rich. But in general, when users report that the documentation is weaker, their expectation is going to be to find the documentation more in the consulting mode, meaning they are looking for the business answers, but most of the products, they take slightly more generalized state, and they are not going to provide those industry specific layers or industry specific answers that you might be seeking. So sometimes there could be expectation misalignment as well in terms of the documentation, but a lot of users have reported that their documentation is not as great. Then they are also going to have the limited SMS capabilities. There are not very many tools that can support the SMS capabilities as well as the other channels, unless you are going for slightly more expensive tool. For the most part, these are going to be on a cheaper side, so they are not going to have these capabilities. And the templates, even though it is a marketing automation platform, but the templates are not as flexible as you would expect that systems such as your HubSpot, etc. So these are going to be some of the limitations, and that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Keela. And Keela is going to be a great fit if you're very heavy on fundraising. That's where they are going to have a lot of capabilities. So the other strengths that we are looking at from Keela perspective is, again, since this is a very prescriptive system, then your customer service is going to be in general good with Keela. And then the communication interaction centric workflows are going to be great as well. It's probably going to be very cost effective and easier to learn and implement. Again, these are the traits that you are going to find with the majority of the prescriptive systems. Some of the limitations that you need to keep in mind is that their mobile app is probably going to be limited. You are also going to have data integrity issues, and that is also a common trend that we generally find with the majority of the prescriptive systems, that since they are trying to simplify the data model and they are also trying to flatten the data model, so you are going to have a lot of data integrity issues, and these are going to be your duplicate contacts, duplicate companies. So the onus is going to be on you to be able to clean the data, to create the governance workflows manually. You can take any actions as you like. If they had the tight data model, for example, with the larger systems, then that becomes slightly more difficult to use, but they are going to have a little bit superior data integrity. But this is a design choice. They are trying to make it easier for you to implement and use, and that's why you are going to have these data integrity issues. But in this particular market segment, the simplified data model makes far more sense, even though it is going to have the data integrity issues. Events and ticket management is going to be a limitation as well. Keela does not have those capabilities, as rich capabilities in that department. So these are some of the limitations, and that's number 8. And number 7 on our list is Virtuous. And this is going to be slightly bigger system compared to the previous ones that we have reviewed so far. And some of the other strengths that you're looking at from the Virtuous perspective is the best of breed capabilities for not-for-profit. You are going to have all of those layers from the not-for-profit perspective that you would need to develop on top of the vanilla generalized platforms such as your HubSpot or Salesforce. They are not going to be as rich with these capabilities. Virtuous also has the automation journeys, and the majority of the marketing automation platforms are going to have some sort of automation journeys, but they are generally limited in terms of what all can they support. Sometimes the issues are going to be that they might not have as deep capabilities for the custom object. In general, in the prescriptive segment, you are not going to find deep capabilities for the custom object. They might be they might allow you to create the custom fields on the core objects, but as such, you might not have as deep capabilities for the custom objects. And that's where the automation journeys are, even though they have these capabilities, they are going to be slightly on a weaker side. And then they also have the integrated payment processing, but integrated payment processing also means that you are probably going to be paying their rate. You need to choose that. Sometimes they might have friendlier rate just because you are getting the integration, but make sure you do a little analysis computation in terms of how much rate are you going to be paying, and are you locking yourself with them with respect to the payment provider. The other limitations that you're looking at from the virtuous perspective is the higher price compared to the smaller CRMs. So this is going to be slightly more on a expensive side, just because there's slightly bigger system compared to your Neons of the world. And then email templates are not going to be as user friendly either. And sometimes when we hear this particular issue is because either the templates are going to be very legacy, or they are going to be slightly more developer centric, that they are not as user friendly in general. So the marketing teams might not be able to use as effectively as they would some of the other systems that are designed to be business friendly. And the reporting is not going to be as intuitive either. So these are some of the limitations, and that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is Classy. And Classy is a very similar system as several other systems that we have seen. So some of these trends that you're looking at from the Classy perspective is the integration with Salesforce, and they are part of that Salesforce ecosystem. So they are being used as more of the marketing automation platform and providing that not-for-profit tailored capability on top of the Salesforce core objects. So you are going to get the best of both worlds. You are going to get the Salesforce experience, plus you are going to get these capabilities. But keep in mind, because of that, the price is probably going to be far more, just because in general, the Salesforce is going to be relevant for slightly bigger organization, the larger organizations. So the other strength that we have for Classy is their support is great, and the donor management as well as the tracking capabilities that you have as part of Classy are going to be richer as well. The limitations that you're looking at from the Classy perspective is the customizability of landing pages. They are not as customizable as you might be able to see with some of the other larger systems. And then they are also going to be more expensive. They have several different layers of the pricing. They have the platform fee, they have annual subscription, but then they also may have per transaction fee, and all of these fee types add up. So make sure you perform analysis in terms of what is going to be the cost of all of that. So these are going to be some of the limitations, and that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is GlueUp. And GlueUp is relevant for not-for-profits that need slightly more omnichannel communication capabilities. So some of the other strengths that you're looking at from the GlueUp perspective is the customer support. Their support is really good. And then they are also going to have the omnichannel management for associations. So their capabilities are going to be slightly geared towards associations. And then their interface is modern as well compared to some of the legacy systems that we have reviewed so far. And the limitations that you are looking at from the GlueUp perspective is data integrity issues. Again, this is very common with the majority of the prescriptive systems. So you are probably going to get that with most of them on this list. Then this is also slightly more on an expensive side. And if you compare the 3 systems that we have reviewed just now, which is going to be your Virtuous, Classy, and GlueUp, they are going to be slightly more expensive compared to the previous 3 that we had reviewed. So that is something to keep in mind. And then we have also seen some of the technical issues that users have reported with GlueUp. So these are some of the limitations, and that's number 5. And number 4 on our list is Bonterra. And this is great for smaller not-for-profits seeking comprehensive capabilities. The Bonterra system is slightly more on a bigger side compared to the other systems that we have reviewed, bigger than your Virtuous system and the other 5 that we have reviewed. So the other strengths that we are looking at from Bonterra perspective is the support is going to be really good. And when the size of the solution increases, the complexity of the solution also increases, which means you are going to have much higher implementation budget. They might be harder to learn just because of the kind of layers that you are going to have with the system. So that's why in the startup segment, you are looking at slightly easier system that are going to have the linear data model. They are not going to have as many layers that will make it moldable. But at this point of time, you're looking for something that is going to be slightly easier to use as well as implement. So in this particular case, it is still going to be easier to use and implement compared to the larger systems, but it's not going to be as easy to use compared to the smaller systems that we have reviewed as part of this list. And then omnichannel communication, including text. So now with this, you are going to get the text capabilities as well. The other systems had that limitation. So if you care for the text capabilities as well, then this might be a great fit. But at the same time, it's going to be slightly harder to learn as well as implement compared to the easier systems that we have reviewed on this list. So the other limitations that you're looking at from Bonterra perspective is the price. And again, if the solution is going to be slightly bigger, they are going to have more capabilities. Their price point is generally going to be higher. And then they can also support complex customer hierarchies, and these are going to be relevant for organizations, again, that are going to be slightly bigger. The kind of associations that they need to make between different customer profiles, the parent-child hierarchies, all of those Bonterra may be able to support compared to the simpler solutions. They are generally going to have email is the primary identifier. In Bonterra's case, they are going to be able to support much bigger hierarchy, and that is going to be not only just the contact, but some of the other slightly more complex customer hierarchies. The price point for Bonterra is going to be expensive, and they are not going to have as complex customer hierarchy, and that's going to be a limitation as well. And then they have per transaction charge as well, something that we have seen with the other systems on this list as well. So that's number 4. Now, number 3 on our list is Donor Perfect. And Donor Perfect is good for the startups that are seeking a donor management platform. So the other strengths that you're looking at from donor perspective is the cost is going to be friendlier, ease of use and implementation, just like what we have seen with the other prescriptive systems. And then you are also going to have the rich donor capabilities. So if you care for the donor functionality, then this could be a great option for you. And then some of the other limitations is again very similar to some of the other systems that we have on this list, which is going to be your data integrity, mass updates, batch transactions. That is the second limitation that we generally see with the prescriptive systems. So that is going to be there with this system as well. And then the customizability of forms, which is a common trend, among these systems. So that is going to be there with Donor Perfect as well. So that's number 3. Now, number 2 on our list is Neon CRM. And Neon CRM is ideal for smaller not-for-profit limited on the implementation budget. The strengths that you're looking at from the Neon perspective is the built-in fundraising as well as the event registration. So these guys are going to be slightly richer in capabilities there. The membership management is there. The volunteer scheduling is there. So they have far richer capabilities covering many different areas, even though they are going to be part of that prescriptive category as well. The other limitations that we are looking at from the Neon perspective is the reporting capabilities, the customizability, scalability beyond simpler business model. So those are going to be some of the limitations, and that's number 2. Number 1 on our list is Kindful or Bloomerang. And this is also going to be smaller for not-for-profit with limited budget. In general, systems such as Bloomerang, they are adopted far more. They have a lot more logos in general compared to some of the other systems that we have reviewed on this list. And that is a primary driver why they are ranking number 1 on our list for not-for-profit startups. The strengths that we are looking at from Bloomerang perspective is the move management, the donor cultivation, as well as ease of use. So these are going to be very similar, strengths that we have seen with many other systems on this list. The limitations that you're looking at is the grant tracking. In general, these capabilities you are going to require with slightly more mature not-for-profit companies. So these guys are not going to have that. The systems in this category are not necessarily designed to provide you the sophisticated capabilities from the grant tracking perspective. If you want those, then you need to go for slightly bigger systems, but then they are also going to be very expensive. They are going to be slightly harder to implement, and they might not be as easy to use. So depending upon what you're looking for, if you're limited on budget, in general, the startup segments are probably going to be limited on budget. So you can get the system just for the interaction, and then grant tracking, you might need to do that manually on spreadsheets. So the other limitations that you're looking at is the data integrity. That is the common trend across all of these systems, just because they are designed for ease of use. And it's not meant for education, not for profit. They generally require very different capabilities, very different interconnectedness with the data sets, such as your student cloud or student information management. For those, the capabilities are going to be very different. But if you are pure play not for profit, where you are doing a bunch of donor tracking, maybe volunteer management, membership, for those, this system could be a great. And then these guys also have the percentage fee per donation, and they have launched the payment as well. So there is a possibility that they might be pushing for their own payment provider, or the way they are going to design the pricing is that they are going to incentivize you to switch to their payment provider. But keep in mind that you need to compute how much you are paying for each of those payments and do a little bit of ROI analysis in terms of how much you are paying there. Sometimes the other systems that are going to have the user-based fee might be far cheaper, even though their pricing may be higher. So make sure you guys do your due diligence. So that's number one. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include a link that is going to have much deeper insights. So make sure you guys check that. And then this podcast is also available in the audio form on major podcasting platforms. So you might want to check there and subscribe. We publish these videos on a weekly basis. So if you have not subscribed our YouTube channel, you might want to do that. And if you have not checked our digital transformation report for 2024, we are going to link that as well. On that note, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.